Some people get what they want in life, again and again. It seems like doors open for them. Opportunities find them. People listen to them. Life bends in their favor, but it's not luck. It's not privilege. It's not magic. It's clarity, strategy, inner power, relentless focus. It's understanding how life really works and then using that knowledge to move, build, and claim what's already waiting for you. This audiobook isn't about wishful thinking, it's about execution. Not just dreaming, but getting. Not just planning, but producing. This is the blueprint for how to get whatever you want in real life, in your own way, starting from where you are. So if you're ready to stop watching others live the life you know you deserve, subscribe to this journey. Lock in. Let each chapter rewire the way you think, act, and receive. Let's begin. Chapter 1. It starts with deciding what you actually want. Every great journey begins not with motion, but with clarity. Before you hustle, before you grind, before you build anything, you have to answer one question with brutal honesty. What do you truly want? Not what you've been told to want, not what looks good on paper, not what your parents, your friends, or society expects from you. No. What do you want? Because unless you're clear, ruthlessly clear, life will drag you in 100 directions, and none of them will lead you where you belong. Here's the truth: nobody tells you. Most people never get what they want simply because they never decide what that is. They drift, they guess, they go after things that sound good but feel empty. And when they get them, they still feel lost. They chased shadows instead of substance. They lived reactively instead of intentionally. They moved fast, but in circles. But those who win, those who seem to always rise, always manifest, always land on their feet, they're not moving faster, they're just moving with clarity. They know where they're going. They know what matters, and so every step has weight, every decision has direction, every sacrifice has purpose. Getting whatever you want starts with knowing what that is, fully, clearly, without shame, without apology. This might sound simple, but it's the hardest part, because clarity requires honesty, and honesty is uncomfortable. You'll have to confront what you've been pretending to want. You'll have to admit that some of your past goals weren't really yours, that some things you chased were just noise, that you've said yes to things out of fear, not desire, that you've settled again and again, because settling felt safer than declaring something bigger. But once you face that truth, something shifts. The fog lifts, the hesitation fades, and for the first time, you start moving not just forward, but toward. You stop wasting energy on paths that aren't yours. You stop chasing approval. You stop performing. You start aligning, and in that alignment, there's power. The kind of power that makes people say, "How did they do it?" But it's not about them. It's about you and what you want. Maybe you want financial freedom. Maybe you want a certain kind of lifestyle. Maybe you want peace, or adventure, or mastery, or legacy. It doesn't matter what the thing is. What matters is that it's real, that it's yours, that it lights something up inside you that no one else can touch. Because when that clarity hits, your excuses start to feel cheap. Your distractions lose their flavor. Your comfort zone starts to itch. And you begin to feel a new urgency, not from fear but from truth. You know now. You see it. You want it. Chapter 2. Wanting is not enough. You have to become the person who can handle it. There's a silent mistake most people make on the road to getting what they want. They believe wanting something is the same as being ready for it. But life doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you're built to carry. And here's the raw truth. If the version of you today got everything you're asking for tomorrow, you'd probably ruin it. Not because you're unworthy, but because you're unprepared. Desire is the spark, but identity is the fuel. Wanting something isn't enough. You have to become the person who can handle what you want. You have to earn it through character, mindset, structure, and habits that match the level of your vision. That's how you close the gap between wanting and having. Let's say you want financial freedom. It sounds beautiful, but financial freedom doesn't just require money, it requires emotional discipline. The ability to say no when others say yes. The patience to delay gratification. The courage to walk away from comfort. If you've never trained those muscles, more money won't help. It'll expose the cracks faster. Or say you want influence, followers, a platform. You want your voice heard. Sounds powerful, but can you handle criticism without breaking? Can you remain grounded when the applause fades? Can you carry the weight of visibility without craving validation? You see, getting what you want isn't hard. Keeping it, that's the real test. And keeping it requires becoming someone different. Not fake, not pretentious, but upgraded, evolved, sharpened. The process is simple, but not easy. You decide what you want. Then you ask, who do I need to become to make this normal? That question will challenge you, because the person you need to become may be stronger than you are today, more focused, more grounded, less reactive, less addicted to comfort. And you'll realize this isn't about achieving a goal. It's about raising your standards to match the life you say you want. Want to be wealthy? Start acting like someone who respects money. Want to be respected? Start showing up with integrity, even when no one's watching. Want to lead? Start mastering your emotions and building inner stability. Because everything you want is guarded by a version of you that doesn't exist yet. You don't get access until you become the kind of person who belongs there. This is where most people fall off. They want the outcome, but they resist the identity shift. They cling to old habits, old routines, old stories. They want the life of a disciplined person while living like someone who reacts to everything. But it doesn't work that way. Change is expensive. Not in money, but in comfort, time, energy, ego. You'll lose friends. You'll feel misunderstood. You'll outgrow environments that once felt like home. But with each loss, you'll gain clarity. With each layer you shed, you'll step closer to the version of you that's powerful enough to not just get what you want, but keep it, grow it, multiply it. And that version of you, they don't chase. They don't beg. They don't prove. They walk with quiet conviction. They attract through energy, not noise. They execute without seeking applause. They've paid the price, and it shows. This chapter of your life requires one shift. Stop obsessing over the prize. Start obsessing over who you're becoming in the process, because you'll never outperform your identity. You'll never rise higher than your standards. And you'll never build a life that demands more than you've trained yourself to handle. The results you want, health, wealth, freedom, love, peace, aren't distant. They're waiting for you to become the person who naturally creates them. It's not about trying harder. It's about becoming sharper, more aligned, less reactive, more intentional. That's what this journey is. Not a hustle, a transformation, from the inside out. So take a moment and reflect, not on what you want, but on what version of you can create that outcome and carry it with ease. Because the moment you become that version, you won't have to chase what you want anymore. It will start chasing you. Chapter 3. Clarity without action is just a dream. You've made a decision. You've declared what you want. You've even started to evolve into the version of yourself who deserves it. But none of it matters unless you take the one step most people never take. You act. Not later, not when you feel ready, not when the fear goes away, but now, exactly as you are, with whatever tools, energy, or confidence you currently have. Because clarity without action is just fantasy. And fantasies don't pay bills. Fantasies don't build businesses. Fantasies don't create legacies. Only action does. There's a seductive lie floating around in the self-help world, that if you just align your energy and think positively enough, things will come to you. No effort, no sweat, no risk, just vision boards and manifestations. But life doesn't work like that. The universe doesn't respond to ideas. It responds to motion. You can visualize all you want. But if your feet don't move, nothing changes. If your hands stay in your pockets, nothing gets built. If your calendar stays empty, your future stays the same. This is where most people stall. They confuse planning with progress. They get stuck in research mode, always preparing, always thinking, always consuming, but never producing. They tell themselves they're being strategic, but what they're really doing is hiding, avoiding discomfort, avoiding the possibility of failure. But let me tell you something with full honesty. Nothing great is built in safety. The people who get what they want are not the smartest, they're not the most educated, they're not even the most talented. They're the ones who move. They try, they build, they fail, they learn, they adjust, they keep going. And over time, brick by brick, they create what others only talk about. Because the difference between those who succeed and those who stay stuck is not luck. It's not even intelligence. It's the ability to act while afraid. You'll never feel ready. You'll never have all the information. There will always be fear. But if you wait for perfect conditions, you'll wait forever. Action is what rewires your mind. Action is what silences fear. Action is what gives clarity its true meaning. When you take action, even messy, imperfect action, you learn faster than anyone sitting still. You find out what works. You build resilience. You start to feel momentum. And once momentum hits, something inside you shifts. You stop needing motivation. You stop needing to be inspired. You stop needing approval. You start showing up because it's who you are now, not something you're trying to be. There's a point where effort becomes identity. And that point only comes through doing, not thinking, not hoping, not analyzing, doing. You want freedom. Start the side hustle today. You want to get fit. Lace up and go walk now. You want peace? Say no to the chaos that's draining you right now. There is no right time. There is only now and what you choose to do with it. You see, the ones who win in life aren't always confident when they begin, but they become confident through consistent action. They earn their self-belief. They build their self-worth through showing up again and again, even when no one claps, even when nothing seems to change, until one day everything does. And by then, they've become unstoppable. So don't confuse clarity with arrival. Clarity is the map. Action is the journey. Your job now is not to feel good about your goal. Your job is to do something. Anything that moves you closer to it. Even if it's small. Even if it's invisible to others. Even if you're the only one who sees it. Because motion creates momentum. And momentum creates miracles. But it only begins when you stop thinking and start moving. This is your turning point. Don't let it fade. Open the door. Make the call. Write the post. Launch the thing. Take the first step. Because what you want is waiting. But it won't chase you. You've got to go first. Chapter 4. Break the cycle that keeps you stuck. Everyone wants to move forward. Everyone wants progress. But most people stay stuck in the same spot for years. They read the books, watch the videos, set the goals, but nothing changes. The reason? It's not because they don't want it bad enough. It's because they're trapped in a cycle. And unless that cycle breaks, nothing moves. It's the same story repeated in a different form. Start strong, get distracted, doubt yourself, delay action, feel guilty, get motivated again, repeat. It's a pattern. And unless you see it for what it is, you'll keep reliving the same month for the rest of your life, calling it effort. Here's what's really happening. You're not just fighting the outside world. You're fighting an internal script. That script was written by experiences, fear, trauma, failure, and survival. It whispers to you every time you try to change. You've failed before. You'll never be consistent. You always mess this up. Who are you to think you can do that? And the worst part, you believe it because it sounds like you, but it's not you. It's your old programming trying to protect the version of you that doesn't want to be challenged. That voice lives in your nervous system. It's wired into your body as much as your brain. So every time you get close to a breakthrough, your system triggers resistance. You'll suddenly feel tired, or distracted, or confused. You'll convince yourself this isn't the right time. You'll start looking for a new plan. That's not logic. That's sabotage wearing a disguise. And if you don't break that cycle, you'll always find a way to stay exactly where you are, just with different language. But here's the breakthrough. You don't break the cycle with willpower. You break it with new behavior. Small shifts, repeated daily, ignoring the emotional storms and doing the work anyway. You'll feel resistance. Expect it. You'll feel scared. Lean in. You'll hear the voice say, "This isn't working." Answer back, "I'm working." That's enough. Consistency isn't about always doing it perfectly. It's about not quitting when the cycle pulls at you. If you can stay locked in for just a little longer than usual, if you can outlast your own self-sabotage even 1% more than yesterday, you're breaking it, brick by brick, layer by layer. And one day, that pattern of stopping, of quitting, of doubting, it cracks. You won't even notice the shift at first. But the next time you want to quit, something in you will say, "No, we don't do that anymore." That's when you become different. And from that point on, you don't just act different, you are different. You move through resistance like it's normal. You build through tired days. You speak to yourself like someone who believes. You don't negotiate with the old voice anymore. You override it with evidence, with discipline, with movement. That's how cycles die. That's how stuckness dissolves. That's how people like you rise. Not by finding the perfect system, not by waiting for the perfect day, but by choosing, over and over, to move in spite of the story. That's how you get what you want. Not because you're lucky, but because you've done what most never will, break your own pattern. And once you do that, the rest of your life opens up. Chapter 5. Stay hungry, stay focused, without burning out. You've made progress. You've started moving. The cycle is breaking. You're no longer that person who quits when it gets tough. You're starting to believe that you actually can get what you want. But now comes a different kind of test. Not how to start, but how to sustain. It's easy to sprint when the fire's fresh. It's easy to feel focused when you've just had a breakthrough. But what happens when the motivation fades? What happens on day 47, when nobody is clapping and the routine feels heavy? That's when most people fade, not because they're weak, but because they never learned how to pace themselves. They confuse intensity with consistency, and that confusion is deadly. Let's get this straight. Your success is not determined by how hard you work once. It's determined by how long you can stay consistent without falling apart. That means learning how to stay hungry while staying healthy, focused without getting rigid, ambitious without hating where you are right now. The first step is this. Stop tying your worth to productivity. You're not a machine. You're not valuable only when you're executing. If you treat yourself like a robot, you will break. You have to respect your energy, protect your peace, preserve your focus like it's a flame, not a floodlight. A flame that needs both oxygen and boundaries. Yes, show up every day. Yes, put in the work. But also know when to rest, not as a reward, but as a requirement. This isn't about being soft. This is about being strategic. Because burnout doesn't come from doing too much. It comes from doing too much of the wrong things, or doing the right things with the wrong mindset. So here's what staying sharp really looks like. It means building systems that don't rely on motivation. It means creating a schedule that honors your focus windows and protects your recovery time. It means removing decision fatigue by keeping your environment aligned with your goals. It means simplifying your life so that your energy flows toward what matters most. And most importantly, it means you stop letting the world set your pace. You don't have to move fast because others are. You don't have to compete with noise. You don't have to constantly be on just to prove you're committed. The smartest builders in the world, they move in silence, at a rhythm they can maintain for years. They don't chase adrenaline. They chase alignment, and that alignment keeps them dangerous. Not in short bursts, but over long seasons. Let this sink in. It's not your intensity that will change your life. It's your ability to stay aligned long enough to finish what you started. You don't need to feel inspired every day. You just need to keep showing up when it's time. And when you do that, the hunger stays, not because of pressure, but because of purpose. Purpose is what keeps your fire lit without burning you to the ground. So ask yourself, am I building this for applause or for freedom? Am I hustling for approval or for legacy? Am I chasing pressure or moving with peace? Because how you answer those questions will determine whether you burn out or break through. This chapter of your journey isn't about proving anything. It's about building a rhythm that lasts, a flow that fuels you, a system that keeps delivering even when the hype dies. So yes, stay hungry. Yes, stay focused. But also, stay calm, stay strategic. Stay rooted in what matters, because the version of you that gets whatever you want, they didn't just work hard. They learned how to keep going without losing themselves along the way. Chapter 6, The Power of Saying No Without Guilt. If you want to get whatever you want in life, there's one skill you must master, the art of saying no. Not out of anger, not out of ego, but out of deep, focused respect for your purpose. Because as your vision gets clearer, distractions get louder. As your direction sharpens, invitations increase. As you level up, so does the number of people, habits and commitments that try to pull you sideways. And if you don't learn how to say no with confidence, you'll end up living someone else's life while losing your own. Let's get this straight. Every yes you give is a trade. When you say yes to someone's request, you're saying no to your own priorities. When you say yes to comfort, you're saying no to growth. When you say yes to guilt, you're saying no to freedom. And if you keep trading your time, energy, and focus for things that don't feed your future, you'll always be behind, no matter how busy you are. People often confuse kindness with availability. But here's the truth. You don't owe anyone your energy. Your attention is a currency. Your time is not infinite. And your future, it's too expensive to spend on small things. So why is it so hard to say no? Because we're wired to avoid discomfort. We're trained to be polite, to keep the peace, to not disappoint others. But here's the problem. Every time you avoid disappointing someone else, you disappoint yourself. And over time, that becomes a habit. You become a people pleaser in disguise, appearing helpful on the surface, but quietly losing control of your own direction. Real winners aren't reckless with their no's, they're strategic. They say no to good things so they can say yes to great things. But they say no to chaos so they can protect their peace. They say no to overcommitting so they can stay rooted in execution. This doesn't mean you become cold, it means you become clear. It doesn't mean you isolate yourself, it means you elevate yourself. Because every no is actually a yes to something bigger, a yes to your future, a yes to your health, a yes to deeper focus, a yes to mastering your craft. If you want to create a life where you actually get what you want, you have to stop living for other people's expectations. That means not attending every event, not answering every message instantly, not jumping into every conversation, not over-explaining your boundaries. Because guess what? You don't have to justify your focus. You don't have to explain why your time is sacred. You don't have to apologize for building something that matters to you. The people who get it won't need an explanation. And the ones who don't, they were never meant to walk this road with you anyway. Your future isn't built by being nice all the time. It's built by being committed. And commitment looks like discomfort. It looks like missing out. It looks like saying, Not right now, even when it's easier to say, okay. But on the other side of that decision, freedom, space, clarity, energy. And slowly, you begin to notice. You're no longer drained. You're no longer scattered. You're no longer overwhelmed by things that don't matter, because your life is no longer wide open for interruption. It's locked in. It's intentional. It's owned by you, not managed by guilt or obligation. This chapter is where your transformation deepens, not by adding more to your plate, but by removing what doesn't belong, because what you remove creates space for what you're really meant to carry. So start small, one boundary at a time, one quiet no at a time, and soon you'll realize your power didn't come from doing more. It came from doing less, with greater purpose. And that's when things begin to align. That's when momentum finds you. That's when what you want begins to take shape, because now you've made room for it. Chapter 7. Keep going when nothing seems to be working. There's a phase on the path to everything you want that nobody prepares you for. It's not the beginning that's full of fire. It's not the end that's filled with reward. It's the middle. The slow, quiet, frustrating middle, where you're doing everything right, but nothing seems to be happening. You're showing up. You're staying disciplined. You're saying no to distractions. You're doing the work. And yet, there's silence. No big win. No visible results. No recognition. Just effort, routine, and a growing voice in your head that whispers, maybe this isn't working. This is the moment most people quit. Not because they're lazy, but because they expected faster rewards. Because they mistook the quiet for failure. But here's what you need to understand. Progress doesn't always look like progress. The seed grows underground long before it breaks the surface. The body transforms on the inside before it's visible in the mirror. The mind shifts gradually before you notice your thinking has changed. Just because it isn't loud doesn't mean it isn't working. And the greatest mistake you can make is to stop planting just before the roots reach water. This phase is a test, not of your ability, but of your belief, your endurance, your willingness to walk forward without applause. Because the reality is, results lag behind effort. You don't go to the gym once and wake up fit. You don't post one video and become successful. You don't show up for a week and change your life. You show up for weeks, for months, sometimes for years, with no external reward. And those who keep going anyway, they're the ones who break through, because they've built something most people never develop: resilience in silence. They don't need a win to stay focused. They don't need motivation to stay committed. They move, not because the world claps, but because their mission calls. That's when you become truly dangerous. That's when momentum begins to build under the surface. And when it finally breaks through, it won't be small. It'll look like it came out of nowhere. But you'll know the truth. You'll remember the silent mornings, the long nights, the quiet discipline. You'll remember the time you kept going, not because you saw results, but because you believed in who you were becoming. And that belief, that's what changes everything. This is your test. Can you keep showing up when no one's watching? Can you stay grounded when doubt creeps in? Can you silence the noise in your head long enough to hear the rhythm of consistency? Because on the other side of this silence is a version of you so powerful, so clear, so unshakable, that getting what you want is no longer the goal. It's the byproduct, the natural result of someone who didn't stop when it felt pointless, but instead chose to trust the invisible work. So keep going, even when it's slow, even when it's quiet, even when nothing seems to be working. Because trust me, something is. Chapter 8. Turn rejection into power. Rejection hurts. Let's not pretend it doesn't. Whether it's a job you didn't get, a person who walked away, a dream that didn't pan out, being told no leaves a mark. But that mark doesn't have to be a wound. It can be a weapon. Because rejection, when faced with the right mindset, isn't the end of the road. It's the start of your real strength. Let's be clear. If you want to get whatever you want in life, you need to learn how to take a no without letting it shake your vision. You have to absorb disappointment without losing your discipline. You have to hear you're not ready and still keep preparing. You have to see a door close and still believe in the hallway you're building. Because the truth is, rejection isn't about your worth. It's about fit. It's about timing. It's about readiness, not in the world's eyes, but in your own. And sometimes the no you got was a yes in disguise. A yes to growth. A yes to self-respect. A yes to something better, something you weren't ready to receive yet. But you will be. If you don't let rejection define you, because most people do. They hear no and shrink. They take it personally. They turn one denial into a whole identity. And that's how dreams die. Not from lack of talent, but from misinterpreting silence as failure. But the greats? They use rejection as fuel. They don't get bitter, they get better. They don't internalize the no. They study it. They ask, what can I learn here? Where do I need to sharpen? And then they go back to the lab, back to the gym, back to the process. Until one day, the same world that told them no has no choice but to say yes. Because here's the reality. Every rejection teaches you something. Sometimes it teaches patience. Sometimes it teaches direction. Sometimes it teaches you who never deserved access to your energy in the first place. But it always teaches. You just have to listen deeper than your ego. Rejection is a teacher that doesn't raise its voice. It whispers. And if you're too emotional to hear it, you miss the lesson. So feel the pain. But don't pitch a tent there. Feel it and move. Feel it and evolve. Feel it and come back stronger. Because every no you survive strengthens your ability to hold your yes when it comes. That's why the most powerful people in any room are rarely the ones who've been told yes their whole lives. They're the ones who've been told no 100 times, but they kept showing up. They kept creating, kept knocking, kept building, until one day they became the yes. And when you become that, when your identity is built not just on wins, but on how you handled the losses, you don't chase approval anymore. You earn respect. You command space. You don't just get what you want, you deserve it. Because you fought for it when no one believed in you. Even when part of you doubted yourself. And that is unshakable power. So don't run from rejection. Use it. Use it to build resilience. Use it to sharpen your edge. Use it to stay grounded, humble, and deadly focused. Because the world will reject you until it can't ignore you anymore. Your job? Keep showing up until that day comes. And it will come. Chapter 9. Build unshakable confidence from the inside out. Confidence is walking in and not needing to compare yourself to anyone at all. Confidence is not walking into a room thinking you're better than everyone. Chapter 9. Build unshakable confidence from the inside out. Confidence is not walking into a room thinking you're better than everyone. Confidence is walking in and not needing to compare yourself to anyone at all. It's not arrogance. It's not loudness. It's not performance. It's not performance. It's not loudness. It's not arrogance. It's in how you breathe. True confidence is silent, grounded, present. True confidence is silent, grounded, present. It's in how you breathe, how you hold your space, how you speak with clarity even when your voice shakes, how you show up when no one supports you yet, how you speak with clarity even when your voice shakes, how you hold your space, how you show up when no one supports you yet. It's built. That kind of confidence, unshakable confidence, isn't given. And you don't build it through praise. It's built. That kind of confidence, unshakable confidence, isn't given. And you don't build it through praise. Wake up on time. Brick. Every time you say you'll do something and follow through, you deposit a brick into your foundation. You build it through promises kept to yourself. Every time you say you'll do something and follow through, you deposit a brick into your foundation. You build it through promises kept to yourself. Wake up on time. Brick. Face the fear instead of running. Brick. Finish what you said you'd finish. Brick. Over time you look around and realize you're standing on solid ground, a ground you built, day by day, hour by hour, quietly. Over time you look around and realize you're standing on solid ground, a ground you built, day by day, hour by hour, quietly. Finish what you said you'd finish. Brick. Face the fear instead of running. Brick. It's something you earn in private, long before the public ever sees you. Most people think confidence is something you're born with. It's not. It's not. It's something you earn in private, long before the public ever sees you. Most people think confidence is something you're born with. They've felt fear. They've failed. The most confident people you know, they've felt fear. They've failed. And that's the shift. But they kept showing up until showing up felt normal. They've been broken. But they kept showing up until showing up felt normal. And that's the shift. It means the doubt doesn't own you anymore. It doesn't stop you. Confidence doesn't mean you never doubt. Confidence in speaking is not only about being heard, it is about being remembered. Words that are clear, strong, and steady may reach the ear, but they will not stay unless they reach the heart. The greatest speakers are not only masters of rhythm, presence, and clarity, they are masters of connection. They know how to bind their voice to the emotions of others. They know how to transform their message into something felt. This is the difference between being listened to for a moment and being carried within someone for a lifetime. Chapter 10. Lead yourself first. Nobody's coming to save you. That's a hard truth to swallow, but once you accept it, you unlock a power most people never touch. In school, at home, even at work, someone's always there to direct you, tell you what to do, when to show up, what's right, what's wrong. You get used to being guided, but real life doesn't work like that. There comes a moment where you look around and there's no one there to motivate you. No one to hold your hand, no one to give you a checklist. That's when you learn. You either become your own leader, or you wait forever. Leadership isn't just about leading others. Before you can do that, you have to lead yourself. And that's the hardest kind of leadership there is. Because it means you set your own alarm. You build your own standards. You push yourself when it's easier to quit. You hold yourself accountable when no one is watching. And you do it not because you have to, but because that's who you've decided to become. This is what separates those who talk about success from those who live it. They don't need pressure from outside. They create pressure from within. They don't need permission. They give themselves the green light. They don't wait for the right time. They declare, it starts now, with me. The truth is, every successful person you admire was self-led long before anyone followed them. Their discipline came before their platform. Their standards came before their support. Their self-respect came before respect from others. And that's what you're being called into now. You've made progress. You've started to believe. Now it's time to own the path you're walking. Fully. Not halfway. Not when it's easy. Every day. That means you don't need motivation anymore. You've got structure. You don't need applause. You've got alignment. You don't need a mentor at every step. You've got clarity of direction. You're not waiting for someone to assign you greatness. You're assigning it to yourself. Because here's the truth most won't say out loud. The life you want will never be handed to you. It must be led into existence through consistency, clarity, and courageous decision-making. That means saying no even when people won't understand. That means choosing discipline when comfort whispers your name. That means getting honest with yourself when your habits don't match your goals. You stop lying to yourself. You stop excusing your delays. You stop outsourcing responsibility for your life. And when you do, something shifts inside you. You start walking with authority. You start speaking with clarity. You start executing with power, because you're no longer a passenger in your own life. You're in the driver's seat. And from that place, everything becomes possible. You want to get whatever you want? Start here. Lead yourself. Lead yourself out of distraction, out of doubt, out of inconsistency. Lead yourself into commitment, into focus, into discipline, into execution. You do that long enough, quietly, consistently, and one day the world will look at you and call you a natural-born leader. But you'll know the truth. You weren't born with it. You built it, from the inside out, when no one saw, when no one helped, when no one believed. And that's what makes you unstoppable. Chapter 11. Master your inner voice before it masters you. Inside your mind, there's always a voice speaking. Sometimes it lifts you up. Other times, it tears you down. And what most people don't realize is, your inner voice shapes your entire life. Before anyone doubts you, you already doubted yourself. Before anyone criticizes you, you already played that conversation in your head. Before any decision is made, battle begins inside your own thoughts. That voice, it narrates your story. It filters your world. It decides what you believe you can or cannot do. And if you don't learn how to lead that voice, it will lead you in the wrong direction. The loudest enemy is not outside. It's the voice inside that says, "You're not ready. You always mess things up. Who are you to do this? This probably won't work." That voice sounds like truth, because it sounds like you. But in reality, it's old programming, a mix of fear, past experiences, comparison, and conditioning. It's not here to help you rise. It's here to keep you safe. But safe doesn't get you what you want. Safe keeps you stuck. So the question is, can you hear the voice without obeying it? Because that's where your power begins. Not by shutting it off, but by learning to talk back. To say, "No, I'm doing this anyway. No, I don't need to be perfect to begin. No, I'm not quitting just because it's hard." Your inner voice must be trained, just like your muscles, your habits, your focus. You train it by choosing new thoughts. You rewire it by speaking truth over fear. You rebuild it every time you do something uncomfortable and survive. Every time you face a situation that triggers doubt and walk through it anyway, you're teaching your mind that you are safe, even in the unknown. Over time, your inner voice becomes your ally. It starts sounding like, "I can handle this. I've come too far to back down. I've done hard things before. I'll do this too. I don't have to feel confident to be committed." Now, this doesn't mean the negative thoughts disappear. They don't. They still show up, but you don't believe them anymore. You recognize them, you name them, and you move anyway. This is what self-mastery really looks like. Not having a silent mind, but having a stronger voice than the fear. A voice that leads you, supports you, reminds you who you are when everything feels uncertain. Because when you master that voice, you don't just change your mindset. You change your identity. You become the kind of person who no longer asks, "Can I do this?" You ask, "How fast can I grow into this?" That shift in self-talk, that's the difference between staying stuck and rising for real. It's the invisible edge. The daily practice, the behind-the-scenes discipline that gives people an unexplainable presence. You felt it in others. Now, it's time to build it in yourself. And you do that by choosing better words inside your own mind. Not once, but every day. Every morning you wake up and say, "Let's go." Every evening you review what you did right, not just what you missed. Every time you feel fear, you remind yourself, fear is not a signal to stop, it's a signal I'm growing. You reinforce your power. Not through hype, through honest repetition. Because thoughts create beliefs. Beliefs shape action. And action shapes destiny. And that destiny, it starts with a voice. Yours. Train it wisely. Chapter 12. Shape your environment. Shape your life. You become what surrounds you. It doesn't matter how strong your mindset is, how focused your goals are, or how big your dreams seem. If your environment doesn't support your growth, it will silently destroy it. People underestimate the power of their surroundings. They focus on changing their habits, but never think to change the room they're in. They set goals, but keep company with people who doubt everything. They dream of success, but live in noise, clutter, chaos, and they wonder why nothing changes. But here's the truth. Your environment is the invisible hand guiding your daily behavior. Your friends, your workspace, your digital space, your home, even your phone screen. All of it sends signals to your mind, signals that either support your discipline or sabotage it. If your environment is full of distraction, don't be surprised if your focus disappears. If it's full of small thinkers, don't be shocked when your big dreams feel out of place. If it's filled with comfort, don't expect growth to come knocking. This is not about being dramatic. It's about being intentional. You want to get whatever you want? You better build an environment where what you want is normal, not the exception. Where hard work is expected. Where discipline is admired. Where vision is respected. Because if you're constantly surrounded by energy that pulls you back, it will take twice the effort to move forward. And here's the kicker. Environment isn't just physical, it's digital too. What you see on your screen daily shapes your mind. The posts you scroll, the voices you listen to, the news you absorb, the content you consume, all of it feeds your internal system. Are you feeding strength or fear, clarity or confusion, purpose or noise? You control what gets in. And what gets in eventually comes out through your words, your decisions, your energy. So protect your inputs like your future depends on it, because it does. This means curate your social media feeds, clean your workspace, organize your room, put reminders of your vision where you can see them every day. Talk to people who challenge you to grow. Limit time with people who drain your light. Surround yourself with excellence until excellence feels familiar. This isn't about being perfect. It's about making alignment easier. Because when your environment matches your values, discipline feels natural. When your surroundings breathe growth, you stop fighting uphill battles. Your mornings feel lighter. Your focus lasts longer. Your self-respect deepens. You wake up every day in a space that reflects your standards, not your excuses. And here's something else. Sometimes you outgrow environments, and that's okay. You're not disloyal for wanting more. You're not arrogant for needing distance. You're just evolving. And not everyone evolves with you. That's not a loss. That's life. Your job is not to drag people with you. Your job is to create a space where your future self can breathe, can focus, can thrive. And if that means letting go of people, habits or places that no longer serve you, so be it. Because you weren't born to stay stuck in rooms that make your greatness feel like a burden. You were born to rise, to design a space where your dreams can finally live without apology. So start now. Look around you. Does your environment match your ambition? If not, change it. You don't have to move cities. You don't need a big budget. But you do need clarity. And you do need courage. To clean what's messy. To unplug from what's toxic. To build what's missing. And to surround yourself with what makes you remember who you're becoming. Your environment isn't just where you live. It's where your future is being built. Make it count. Chapter 13. Build mental stamina to withstand life's storms. Success isn't just about speed. It's about stamina. Anybody can sprint for a week. But can you show up for years? Can you stay consistent even when motivation disappears? Can you keep going when progress feels invisible? This is the true test, not of your skills, but of your resilience. Life will not always reward you quickly. Sometimes it delays your breakthrough to see if you're really built for it. And in those moments when it feels like no one's watching, nothing's working, and you're questioning everything, you need something deeper than hype. You need mental stamina. That's the inner force that says, I'm tired, but I'm not stopping. I'm unseen, but I'm not unworthy. I'm uncertain, but I'm still moving forward. This is what separates the seasonal dreamers from the real builders. It's not just about big ideas. It's about grit. It's not just about feeling inspired. It's about enduring the uninspiring days. You see, mental stamina isn't sexy. No one applauds it. It's quiet, built in silence, tested in hardship, and proven over time. It's forged when things go wrong, but you don't quit. When plans fall apart, but you stay committed. When you fail publicly, but still get up the next day and try again. That's not luck. That's trained endurance. And it must be trained just like your body, just like your habits. How? Start by embracing the boring. Consistency isn't always exciting. Progress isn't always loud. But the ones who master the mundane are the ones who win. They show up when they don't feel like it. They do the work without needing validation. They trust the process even when results are slow. That's mental stamina. It's doing reps when no one sees. It's believing when no one claps. It's holding the vision when everyone else would have let it go. And here's the secret most people ignore. Mental stamina is more powerful than talent. Because talent fades under pressure if the mind isn't strong. But a trained mind, it can turn setbacks into strategy. It can sit in silence without panic. It can rebuild again and again and again until the breakthrough comes. This is why some people win without having the best start. They weren't chosen. They chose themselves every day. And that choice gets easier when your mental muscles are trained. So let me ask you, when life gets heavy, do you run or do you rise? When progress is slow, do you blame or do you build? When no one believes in you, do you collapse or do you become the one who believes harder? This is the real work. And if you want to get whatever you want, you need to develop a mindset that says, I don't stop because it's hard. I continue because I'm committed. Let that be your standard. Let that be your new normal. Because once your mind becomes unbreakable, your path becomes unstoppable. Pain may visit, but it won't derail you. Doubt may whisper, but it won't lead you. Fear may knock, but you won't open the door. You'll keep showing up, calm, grounded, relentless. And that kind of mental stamina, it's not just for success, it's for survival. In relationships, in business, in health, in identity. Because life doesn't ask if you're ready. It simply asks, will you keep going anyway? Train yourself to say yes, every single time. Chapter 14. Increase your value, so opportunities chase you. There's a moment in every high achiever's journey when they stop chasing and start attracting. Not because they got lucky, not because they knew the right people, but because they did something most people are too distracted to do. They focused on becoming valuable. In a world full of noise, shortcuts, surface-level branding, and manufactured hype, real value is rare. And that's why it's magnetic. When you truly become valuable, opportunities can't ignore you. Rooms open. Doors swing wide. Your name gets mentioned in places you haven't even stepped into yet. Because the world pays attention to those who solve problems. And value is just that. Your ability to solve meaningful problems in powerful ways. So ask yourself, are you becoming the kind of person that the world needs? Or are you just trying to look impressive? Looking impressive is easy. Building value is deep. It requires time, mastery, depth, repetition, humility, curiosity. It means you don't just consume information, you internalize it. You don't just follow trends, you understand fundamentals. You don't just copy others, you build your own lane. The ones who get whatever they want in life aren't begging for attention. They're earning respect. And that respect comes from becoming excellent in silence, in obscurity, in the shadows. You don't need to go viral. You need to be irreplaceable. You don't need hype. You need consistency. You don't need shortcuts. You need proof in your results. When you build yourself into someone of rare skill, high standards, strong ethics and deep focus, you stop wondering when your big break is coming. Because suddenly, you are the big break. You become the missing piece, the asset everyone wants, the energy people want to be around. You walk into rooms with presence, not because of what you wear, but because of what you carry inside you. And all of it started by choosing to increase your value, day by day. Here's what that looks like in practice. You read when others scroll. You practice when others party. You ask questions when others pretend to know it all. You build relationships when others burn bridges. You finish what you start, even when it's not glamorous. You take feedback without collapsing. You sharpen your edge, even when no one is watching. And then one day, you're not chasing anymore. Your phone rings. Your name spreads. Your work speaks. And your past effort compounds into future elevation. That's not magic. That's value in motion. That's the result of hundreds of decisions no one saw, of thousands of minutes of effort no one clapped for. But you didn't need claps. You needed growth, and you got it. Now the world begins to recognize it. And the irony, the more valuable you become, the less desperate you are for validation. Because value brings its own gravity. People feel it. They sense it in your voice. They trust it in your work. They respect it in your standards. So don't chase applause, chase alignment. Don't focus on popularity, focus on performance. Don't obsess over looking important, obsess over being indispensable. And the rest, it will come looking for you. Chapter 15. Plan your way to the life you deserve. Dreams are beautiful, but dreams without plans are just wishes. And wishing doesn't bring change. Planning with execution does. You've come this far, not to leave it to luck, not to hope something clicks, not to wait for a miracle. You came this far to finally take full control of your life on your own terms. That means you now stop living by default and start living by design. Because all the mindset, motivation, focus, and habits, none of it matters if you don't know where you're going. So ask yourself, not just what you want, but what does your life actually look like when you're truly free? Not someday, but in clear, mapped out, non-negotiable steps. Your dream life is not a mystery. It's a series of aligned, focused actions executed over time with zero emotional compromise. And it all starts with a plan. A plan with clarity. A plan with direction. A plan that doesn't depend on motivation, but on systems. Let's be real. Waking up, feeling like it is a luxury. But waking up and still doing it, that's a discipline. The best lives aren't built on random energy bursts. They're built on structure. You need a structure that protects your energy, a schedule that respects your priorities, routines that anchor your identity, boundaries that preserve your peace, and goals that stretch you without breaking you. Because here's what most people do wrong. They dream big, then live small. They say they want more, but their calendar says otherwise. They talk about vision, but their days are run by distraction. Not you. Not anymore. From this point forward, you live aligned. That means every action, every choice, every day has a purpose. You don't work just to work. You work toward a specific future. You don't hustle to escape. You build to evolve. You don't just stay busy, you stay strategic. This is how powerful people move. And you are one of them now. But you need to treat your life like a business. With targets, with deadlines, with reviews, with pivots, with execution. Because just hoping for change doesn't lead to transformation. Ownership does. And when you take ownership, you take pressure off the world to give you anything. You stop waiting. You start building. You stop complaining. You start adjusting. You stop reacting. You start leading. And this is the life you truly deserve. A life where your past doesn't define you. Your mistakes don't own you. Your fears don't lead you. You lead yourself. You choose what you want. You craft the road toward it. You protect your peace while walking it. And you arrived, not surprised but prepared. Because you didn't stumble into success. You structured it. You planned it. You trained for it. You earned it. And now you get to live it fully, freely, loudly or quietly, but always on your terms. This is what it means to get whatever you want. Not through noise, not through begging, not through shortcuts, but through inner mastery, unshakable vision, and unapologetic discipline. So build your plan, execute your plan, refine your plan, and let your life become the proof of what happens when you choose to become unstoppable.